Thank you.
Sure. Looks like we're connecting. All right. Well, we have got a good group, and you are all in for a very special treat today with Kimo Kippen, who is one of our L&D Cares founding directors, and he has a vast network. And so he is a wonderful person to talk with us about engaging your network and building your community, which is something we've been hearing a lot of today, is our communities. And so I'm going to turn things over to you, Kimo, but I'll be watching the feed and the Q&A. So if we have questions, I'll let you know.
Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it. And welcome, everybody. Aloha and happy. We say in Hawaii, by the way, I'm from Hawaii, happy Aloha Friday, because Friday is a rather special day of the week. It ends, obviously, a good week. And so it's been just a great week with the conference. Thanks to all of you for participating and attending. Thank you to everyone that's really helped to make this conference such a great gathering. Just really appreciate your continued support as we just try to help one another to secure our next opportunities and to be the best selves that we can be for everybody. So the intention of this brief session, and we have about 20-25 minutes or so to chat, would be to continue the conversation that you had from some of the keynotes this morning around building your professional network. So I put some thoughts together, and I want to acknowledge that these are thoughts that you probably have seen, heard, do, practice. So this isn't the exhaustive list. It's just something to keep in mind, and then drive your awareness to continue as to how we continue on our journey to be the best that we can professionally and personally in doing the work that we love to do. So with that, I have prepared a couple of slides. Obviously, all these materials will be there for you. I have sourced everything as well, so you can look at the source pages or the source articles or the sources of where I pulled all this information from to connect this information. So I always like to start my presentations with something that is just who I am. It's part of my DNA, literally, because I'm from Hawaii, and I am 3/4 Hawaiian. So my family's been in the Hawaiian Islands for about 8 generations or more. But I always like to I start everything when I answer the phone, I say aloha. When I hang up, I say aloha. When I say on my emails, all my salutations, say aloha. And there's certainly a distinct part of who I am, of which I'm very, very proud. But aloha, I just wanted to really kind of share the definition of the word, because a lot of people don't really know this, but aloha has 2 syllables. The first syllable is alo, which means to give. And then ha means life. So when we say aloha, what we're actually doing is saying, I give you my life's energy, I give you my breath of life, and I want to share that with you. So that's why we say aloha. And actually you can feel the ha. When you say ha, you're actually breathing life. And of course you'll be wearing your masks at all times, but you want to make sure that you're able to, again, share your life energy with another person. And so aloha to everybody, and a very, very fond welcome. This is where I'm from, my home in Kaneohe, Hawaii. I am actually doing this call. We have many time zones represented from around the world. And this is my home, Kaneohe, Hawaii, on the island of Oahu, which is the main island, or that we call Oahu is known as the gathering place. And this is the Ko'olau Mountains that you see. And this is where I grew up as a kid, and I spent my time. I was going to show you very, very quickly. I'm just jumping up right now to share with you that I'm in Waikiki right now. And if I could share with you the view, that's the view of where I am right now in Waikiki. And this is the marina, and that's the Ala Moana Beach Park, and that's headed in the airport. But you can kind of see, I just thought I'd give you a quick snapshot and so that you can see that part of Hawaii as well, because we're in now, on the other side of the island, which is in Waikiki. So welcome, and I'm just happy to be able to share a little bit about my home. So our quick agenda for today is, why is building a professional network so important for your career and you? What are some of the tips and techniques in building your professional network? And I want to emphasize here that your professional network relates to the field that we're in, which is, I'm very passionate about this area around learning, talent management, the organizational development, these areas that we talk about, human capital in particular, how you build your network in these your professional networks within these particular content domain areas. So then how do you think about, also want to cover a little bit on maintaining your network. So with that in mind, just wanted to share some quick thoughts with you. So why is building a professional network essential to your career? Here's, again, I'm not going to just go over all these in detail, but just to really just share, these are some of the ideas. I pulled this from Forbes as to why, what's the why in this? Why is this really important? But I mean, quite honestly, for me, it's the opportunity to grow my knowledge, to grow my network, to expand my outreach. I would share with you one of my personal aspirations in life. In fact, it's really my vision statement, is to be a citizen of the world. How do I be a better citizen of the world? And that's what I spent my life energy, trying to do, is be a better citizen. And part of that is networking. And part of that is this building my professional and personal network from a global perspective. So with the onset of all of the platforms and technology that we have with us, it's pretty easy for us to stay really quite connected with these wonderful things called mobile devices. And I think I don't want to forget the importance of, when there are opportunities to engage safely one-to-one or one with groups, and this will continue, I hope, to improve the way that we will start to, shall I say, re-engage with our colleagues, our networks, and the people that we work with on a daily basis. How we'll then engage person to person. So I think obviously this is in a period of transition. This is a period of change. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way we were before. So you're building your network and doing it under now this new, I would say with this new era that we're in right now, is really, really critical. And it takes work. And I don't want to shy away from this. It takes work to really be intentional about your desire to be able to build your network. And the way I like to think of this is, some people that maybe are more, if you will, outgoing or more extroverted, or get their energies from that of being with others. For those people, it might come a little more naturally. And then there are those of us that might not be our first love, to be that, if you will, assertive or that intentional to reach out and to build that network. So what I'm trying to say is, it does take effort and it takes intentionality. So I really want to really help to focus us thinking about, being intentional about your desire to have a plan and to have a strategy to build your network. So as you can see here, your ability to grow and expand, and to grow particularly, I think, around your greater self-awareness, having greater self-confidence, and really developing long-lasting relationships. And I think the way to do that is through these professional connections. So I'll give you an example. For many years, I've been a member of the Conference Board. It's a research think tank. It's global. They're headquartered based in New York City, and they have offices in Singapore and in Brussels and in the Middle East. And so I was a member of that organization as a member company organization for many, many years, like 20 plus years. And the council that I belong with, these are other learning and development professionals. We all shared together, we all came together as members of this council. And it's so interesting, because those same members that I met 20 plus years ago, I'm still very much in contact with many of them. And many of them are to this day now, are part of of course, my professional network. If you will, we all grew up together in the learning space, and we're tracking together in our careers as we started in more junior roles, and then got to more mid-level roles, and then got to more senior roles, and then got to more executive roles. As we continued to expand our careers, we kept these relationships. So I really believe in this whole point around, being able to develop long-lasting relationships, and it really does work. So I hope that you'll see these points as to why it's so important to build your professional network. And then I wanted to relate that to our space. So I have tried to capture, from a global basis, this is not the exhaustive list of all professional networks, but there are many here that, for example, I'm very involved with, that I am very proud to be part of and have been for many, many years. Many of you might have either been in your past or will in your future. Think about being in some of these organizations that you see represented by their logos on this page. I think the intent of all of these organizations is really to how do we advance the profession? How do we advance the industry? How do we advance our domain? How do we advance the professionality of our people within this particular function that we would call, I focus really around human capital. So again, I don't necessarily want to single out any one of them, but what I would want to encourage you to think about is, your strategy for developing your professional network, and does it include perhaps some of these organizations? Some of these are not-for-profit organizations. Some of these are for-profit organizations, but they're all focused around the association of bringing people together within our human capital domain, talent management, learning and development, human capital again, to really help to bring us together to how do we advance the profession. Many of these organizations also have a global representation. So regardless of what part of the world that you're in, there may be a chapter for that particular. So for example, ATD, which is the Association for Talent Development, has representation and offices around the world and partnerships with organizations around the world. SHRM is another one that also has, there are many, Whale, there's a ISPI, there are many here that have representation in other parts of the world. So I would really strongly encourage you to, regardless of what part of the world that you're in, I really want to encourage you to think about, being a member of these organizations. So have that within your plan to build. And then I would want to encourage you to think about everything being done very much on what I call at a local level. So regardless of where you are in the world, you can think about belonging at a very local, at a community level. So I'll give you another example. ATD, the Association for Talent Development, has over 140 chapters and 20 plus networks around the world. I was very involved in the chapter. I was based out of Washington, D.C. for many years. And so I was very involved in the Greater Washington Metro chapter. There was over 500 members in that chapter. We had a local chapter that connected to the global organization. And I got very involved, as I would say, when I was early into my career of being a member of that chapter organization. And I'm just using this as an example to say you could think about this with one or any of these organizations that are represented on this page and more. And then I started getting involved. I would attend. They had a meeting every Thursday, the third Thursday of every month. And then I volunteered. I raised my hand and said, I would like to get involved on helping to do the monthly programs. So I started doing that. And then from there, that led to me becoming co-leading the programs committee for the group. And then that led to me becoming the chair-elect for the chair that chapter. That led to me being, the chair-elect, then the chair, then the past chair. So I've had a very close and fond relationship with that organization, with ATD, the chapter organization. And then it's interesting because as part of a global organization, I got asked if I wanted to serve on a committee in a global role with ATD. Or at the time it was called ASTD, the American Society of Training and Development, and it rebranded about 7 years ago to the Association of Talent Development. And so I started getting involved at a global level, and then I got invited to be on the board of directors for the organization. And then I was invited to become the chair-elect and then the chairman of the board for ATD. And so I was the chairman of the board for this global organization called ATD. And it was very formative in my career and building my career because it, again, created a network. That board that I belonged to, both at the chapter level, at my local community level, as well at a global level, with the parent organization, with ATD, led me and connected me to an amazing network of people to this day, again, that I'm very involved with. I'm still very involved with ATD. And there are awards, and there are best awards, and building community, and very much being engaged with everything that they do. So it's been that, I just want to share that as just one example, in a humble way, share that as one example of, being able to continue to build your network through these types of professional organizations. So, SHRM has this, ISPI has this, CLO magazine does many of these, the Conference Board has. So there's many organizations that you see represented here that all do either, they will do either, they have a chapter, they offer webinars, they offer seminars, obviously, and they would also have conferences normally. They would publish. There's ways, again, of getting involved in, and then, again, building your network. So these, by the way, I just included a lot here, all of which, if you can Google this, you can find out how to get involved in your local chapter. I try to represent these things globally. STADA, for example, which is the Singapore Training and Development Association, the ones in Europe, for example, and also in the Middle East, also represented here, which I think are great. And of course, I wanted to give two shout outs. One is to Maisie, which is, with Elliot Maisie, who was joined as a part and very much a supporting member of the L&D Cares group, who spoke on a previous session earlier this week. Thank you to Elliot for that. And then if you see on the very far right-hand corner, Together L&D Cares. So this Career Growth Summit, again, is part of another network that we have set up on LinkedIn that we want to, and we hope that you'll continue to stay connected. And we have, again, over 1,000 people that are now just connected to this L&D Care site of how we can build, again, community within the learning profession to help. In this case, the L&D Cares group is to help people that are in transition, that are thinking about their next opportunity to live their best life, and so those that are seeking opportunities. And you know what? This stuff works. I can tell you time and time again of people that has one, that proverbial, as one door closes, another door opens. But I have had, I've mentored many people, some of which are on the phone with us now, that I've mentored people that have helped them to think about their next opportunity. And again, through building this network and being connected to others in our profession, that leads to what could be an opportunity for a job that led either to a job, or led to perhaps some, short-term gig or short-term work that led to that as well. So with that in mind, I just wanted to share some quick, again, now tips and techniques, what I would just call for some essential networking skills as you look to build it. And again, this list is not the be-all end-all list, but it was just some that I pulled that I just thought were certainly worth mentioning. And so I said this in the beginning, make networking a regular activity. It's being intentional. It's putting it on your calendar. If you work in a very large organization or have worked in a very large organization, it's part, I think, of you building your network, of being intentional by saying you're going to set up a coffee break or a coffee clutch with people. You're going to get together with lunch, however you may do that. And now, ever more, because ever that is occurring virtually, we now have to be very intentional, that I have to reach out to Jennifer, for example, say, hey, Jennifer, would you mind we'll set up a coffee, next Tuesday, and we'll spend 30 minutes just getting to know each other better. But you have to be intentional. You have to schedule it. It has to be part of your calendar to make that happen. Dedicate time. And I've heard from many people that have said, they kind of kept their heads down. They kept their heads in their cube or in their office or, at home. They didn't really look up or look out. And that can have, that can also, I know you're very, very busy, but again, you have to be intentional about thinking about building your network. So you have to think about how you build these relationships over time that I mentioned to you. You have to be intentional. You have to use language which is really positive. Be a positive, frame things in a positive way. So you'll also get asked the question, so how's it going? And I would want you to have a response, and you'll say, it's more than a response of I'm just busy, I'm well, or I'm good. I'd rather you say I'm well, because that's the right answer, because it's asking how is your health. I am well, thank you. And a lot of people say, I'm really well and I'm really busy. That's kind of a fluffy answer. I would want you to have a better response in a positive frame to really say, What does that really mean? I'm very well, and I'm really excited about some of the work that I've just gotten recently engaged in, or a project that I'm working on. Just that one sentence kind of then opens the door for further conversation. And that's really what we're talking about here, is how do we build upon the relationship and build upon the conversation. So that means being a great communicator. And so and I'm not going to, you know what good communication looks like, but it's an exchange between two people with a message that goes between two people or more. And then things start to build from that. And when you start exchanging, things start to build energy. And then from that energy, things start to become figural, and they start to take on a shape, a form, a meaning. And that's how one builds relationships. A big part of being a great communicator is listening. So it's really important that, we listen, and that takes probably more effort than speaking. I really want you to think also in cultivating what I call your power contacts and having a bullseye approach. It's sort of starting with the people, I think literally a bullseye, starting with, I call it a heat map as well. Starting with the people that are in your closest network. That's friends, families, your social connections, professional connections, and then how do you build from there? And when you're doing a job search, and let's say you haven't been in touch with someone for a long time, you can just reach out to someone and say, yo, Jennifer, it's been a long time since we chatted about a year or two ago, and I just wanted to reconnect and just start the conversation again. It's totally cool to do that. And then to build your power contacts through these other contacts. And you can also see this and track this on other social websites, be it a professional exchange website, or looking at, for example, LinkedIn, you can kind of see where there's a lot of energy and a lot that's taking place that you may want to jump into that conversation to be part of it, to build your network, to what I call reach out to some of these power contacts that then could lead to other contacts as well. The thing I wanted to share here with this as well is to pay it forward, that you have an obligation to pay it forward, to introduce people from your network to others to build their network. And I would really want to encourage you to be generous in spirit in sharing your contacts, of being able to do that, because, I really believe in the sense of karma, of what comes around goes around, and sharing those contacts and sharing that energy and taking the time to make those introductions will pay back in many folds over time and in your career. By the way, we know this as a research point, right? That jobs aren't really found by just looking at job descriptions and looking at websites. It happens through the power of networking and the power of relationships. And I can just say, one of my jobs, it was because of that I was able to get a key position. It was with Hilton. And the way I got that job is that it was interesting. I went to grad school, and one of my classmates was a colleague of the new hiring person at Hilton, who was the SVP in charge of head of HR, in charge of learning and development as well, was looking for a CLO. And so my classmate was good friends with this new hiring manager, and so she said, "Oh, you have to talk to Kimo Kippen." And that conversation led to me talking to the hiring person at Hilton, and that's how I got the job at Hilton as the chief learning officer. So it's through those contacts, and that person at RIT that Rochester Institute of Technology is where I got my master's degree from. That goes back to 1992, 1993, where I knew that person. And by the way, she at the time was the head of HR. She worked for J&J Johnson & Johnson, and was also worked as the chief human resources officer for Ralph Lauren. So it was, again, through these sort of contacts that expanded my network that then led to opportunities. I would want you to pay attention to how you communicate, again, also through emails. Make sure that, again, your emails, that you spell check them, you read them, again, that you look at the tone of your message and the way that you ask, and that you're writing your emails with the notion of you're not expecting anything. In fact, you're looking to give. And then what happens a lot of times when you offer something, then the other person will naturally in exchange say, well, how can I help you? And then you could say, well, I'm just interested to learn more about your career or what you did, or perhaps your organization. And do you know of any related opportunities that may either be in your company or in surrounding organizations that might be of interest. I
So,
do want to, yes.
we did have one really good question thus far, and I know we're almost out of time, but
Sure.
the question was, how persistent should you be in building your network if individuals don't respond? It says, I don't want to overload them by reaching out too much.
Yeah, I don't be a pest would be my comment. I would, and it depends also on the medium. So in some cases, if you can find out, some people, don't like necessarily email. Some people may even like texting. I had one situation for me personally where I was using email, but they really like to communicate by text, and I just didn't know that. They said, I don't even read a lot of my emails. It was interesting for me because I had to shift the way in which I approached them in terms of how they wanted to receive information. So I hope that helps. My last 2 points are just do what you say, keep your promises. And then I think most importantly is about integrity. Everything that you say and that you do matters. Marshall Goldsmith will tell you that, one of the best coaches in the world. Everything you say and you do matters. Your network matters. Who you hang out with matters. What you do matters. And having integrity. And by the way, I wouldn't ever want you to do something that would not be right or would not represent yourself in the best way possible for you to be your true and authentic self. So be authentic. And with that, I just want to open it up to any other quick questions we may have, Jennifer.
Yeah, the other question that we got just a minute ago was, can you share an example of something that you have offered to a new contact in the honor, in the spirit of giving without expecting?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I do that a lot now. So as we're trying to, I'm looking to also build my network, is using perhaps a white paper research, or they're working on a particular business challenge. For example, we're having lots of conversations right now around skills and skills development and reskilling and upskilling. So, I've shared the recent articles either from the conference board, getting a white paper that I was able to, the most recent research on this particular topic. And just as you're exchanging with someone and you hear them talking about what they're interested in, you can say, as a matter of fact, I just came across a great white paper that you may find interesting. So, for example, I just posted on LinkedIn today that there's a whole guide that's around how we're going to talk about, the new world of work and what the future of work looks like and how we set up that. So it might be of interest for that particular person to exchange with them some content or a white paper that's very relevant to what they're working on. The other thing is it might be to gesture a particular association, a network, a not-for-profit organization that other contacts that that are in that field that might be of interest to them. Or is there something that you could help them with? I've had people reach out and say, Kimo, is there anything I could do to help you? And so, for example, I say, hey, I'm doing a literary search on a particular topic. Could you help me with that? And by the way, just the fact that they offered to help, now I want to help them. So it's building, again, that network by again, exchanging knowledge, information, resources to build that network. What else?
I love that. Any other questions for Kimo? This is really helpful. And I think, finding opportunities to really get to know other people and build relationships, it makes it so much easier when you're really trying to build that relationship and be intentional with other people instead of, let me give you my business card. Hey, here you go.
Yeah, I think you really have to, again, dedicate the time to make it happen and get involved at the local level. So I'm out in Hawaii, by the way, and there's an ATD chapter here in Hawaii that I've gotten involved with. I've now spoken at them. I now mentor some people from there. And again, building that network locally where you are. So you want to think about it locally and then globally, how you build your networks with some of these organizations that I shared with you here. But again, you can have these decks. You can also Google any of these to find out how you might get more involved with any of them. They're always looking to build their network and build their network and the work that they're doing.
Well, Kimo, thank you so much for all that you do to help us and and that you continue to give back.
Thank you. So this is the big island of Hawaii. This is a sunset overlooking. This is in Kona, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And I just hope wherever you are in the world that you're just having a great day. That you think about this, and I'm so appreciative to everyone here. And just think about, you know, what is the best life that you want to create for yourself, and how you're going about doing that. And so, Jennifer, and to everyone, thank you so, so much. And I wish you all the best. Much, much aloha, and the best for the future and for a great 2021. Today is, by the way, the Lunar New Year. Yes. So it's the year of the ox. And it promises to be an optimistic, and I'm optimistic about what the year ahead will bring. All the best. Lots of aloha.
Thanks, Kimo.